on Saturday again until the soreness goes away.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. The opportunity for strong or severe thunderstorms is going to drop rapidly once we get beyond the lunch hour. After that, scattered showers stay possible. Temperatures only warm up into the low end and 70s this afternoon, dropping into the upper 60s and lower 70s as we head into the overnight. Wednesday afternoon is going to be much quieter across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. A mostly cloudy to overcast sky, a couple of scattered showers, but at the end of the day, most of us are going to be dry. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. From today's headlines to the guests you want to hear from.
Who wants to party?
Listen in and join in. Weekday afternoons starting at 5. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Who wants coffee? Anybody wants coffee?
Tom, can you get me off the hook? Little type
Your tire's tired.
He ain't good looking, but he sure ain't shy. He's a northern-bred, southern-fed, slick-talking guy. Listeners in his posse are the junkyard dogs. The SEC from Tennessee to calling them hogs. From Gainesville up to Lexington to the Titan Tiger Land, nobody does it like Thom Abraham.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Testosterone high today.
Yeah, Tom's a man, he's got the plan, he's really got it made. What a wife he's got, she's smoking hot, check out the junkyard babe. When everything is said and done, no one can beat his show. He's a high-tech redneck, Tony Soprano. If you love sports without the fluff, he's got the master plan. Cause nobody does it like Thom Abraham, yeah.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Top 10 Tuesday in the Doghouse. I am your host, Thom Abraham. Phone lines are open, so feel free to jump in at 256-576-4977. You can also text the show at 732-9TA-SHOW. Exclusive to the show, you can text us 732-982-7469. It's a great way to communicate with us. My Twitter feed is at Thom Abraham Show. The station's Twitter feed is at 97.7 ESPN. We are also on Twitch and Facebook at 97.7 ESPN, where you can watch the show as well. And our YouTube channel is 97.7 ESPN The Zone. So go there, like that, and hit the notification button as well, and you'll get the notifications of when we have gone live. Like now. We are live right now, okay? All the links to all of that is at 977ESPN.com, and you can check that out. I'm looking at, Grizz got a Trash Pandas hat on today. I wasn't sure what that hat was. At first I thought it might have been a Georgia Bulldog hat, and I'm like, no, that wouldn't be right for Grizz, but he's got a little Trash Panda lid going on down there, so that's a good job by him. Look, get the app. All right, you need to have this app. Our app is a killer app. And at the app, you can find links to Zone 2, Zone 3 as well, our alternate streaming channels for more great programming. Coming up Friday night, Madison Academy, fresh off their beatdown of Scottsboro, is at DAR with Steve Moulton and Glenn Laird on the air and online on our primary stream. On Zone 2, our secondary stream, Zone 2, Huntsville High and Grissom will get together at Milton Frank. I know one guy that'll be there. Panthers are looking for their first win, while Grissom coming off a win over Lee last Friday. Austin Coletti, Drew DeArmond on the call for that game. And if the Madison Academy game isn't over by 9:30, you hit Zone 3, and you get the North Alabama Scoreboard Show starting at 9:30. And then once the games are over, you can listen to the North Alabama Scoreboard Show on air and on Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3. Everywhere. This Saturday, when we have Alabama on our primary stream and on the air, we'll have Army against Georgia State on Zone 2 for you. So if you're an Army football fan, you listen to that there. It's very cool. It is cut-down day in the NFL, and the biggest news of the morning is that the Patriots have cut Cam Newton. and Mac Jones will be the starter. So Mac Jones wins the job, and I don't know. They just cut Cam Newton. Give him a chance to go hook up somewhere else. They obviously feel like Mac Jones is the now and the future. They're going all in with him. Brian Hoyer will be his backup. Boom. Cut Cam Newton. Newton leaves with $3.5 million worth of New England money and is available to sign with any team in the league. I thought he looked good in the preseason and in camp. However, he did miss some time with the COVID understanding, but I got to believe somebody will bring him in. It could happen during the show. All we can do is continue to monitor. I had a hard time talking today. Just keep monitoring social media and see what happens with that deal. Yesterday, Bill Belichick said this. Yesterday. He said last year was totally different. So I feel everybody's way ahead of where they were last year. He said yesterday. Speaking specifically of Newton, he said, certainly he started at a much higher point than what we did last year, so definitely moving in the right direction. Apparently that direction is out of the building. Apparently the direction that Cam Newton was moving in was west, because there's nothing east of Boston. It had to be west. Crazy. Coming up today, David Moulton will be joining us in a few moments for his weekly visit. Thoughts on the opening weekend of college football. Today is cutdown day, as I said, and the NFL will get his take on that. Plus, what is all this talk about Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins? I mean, it was like a given over the weekend. Remember that? The story came out. Reporting now, Deshaun Watson will be traded to the Dolphins. And then Brian Flores yesterday says that they're only interested in high-character players, not mentioning Deshaun Watson by name. And then some people say that 15 of the 22 claims against Deshaun Watson have already been dismissed. Oh, okay. So that only leaves him with 7 claims of sexual misconduct against women. Oh, hell. Man of the year. He's only got 7 claims against him. I don't know. None of it makes sense. Tua has looked great in the 3 preseason games. At the top of the 11, Clint Lamb of On3Sports.com is back, setting up Alabama and Miami. By the way, the Peach Bowl issued a news release for the Chick-fil-A Classic, Kickoff Classic, that states that the retractable roof, oh, get this, listen closely. Grizz, I know you don't listen to the show. Listen to this. You'll get a kick out of this. They said that the retractable roof of Mercedes-Benz Stadium will be open for the game, and as a result, masks, cannot talk today, will not be required for those in the general seating bowl. Oh, okay. You're going to open that little hole in the roof, and now we don't need masks. Okay. So we got 75,000 people sitting shoulder to shoulder, but the little tiny hole in the roof is open. So you don't have to wear a mask. This is hilarious. However, the release states, however, mask wearing is still strongly encouraged throughout the stadium and will be required in any enclosed spaces, including the club spaces, the press box, the retail store, and any other enclosed room. So I guess when you go to the bathroom, you got to wear your mask. But not in the open seating bowl because the little hole in the ceiling is open. Way the hell up there. That little tiny hole. It's not like there's any breeze or anything. It's ridiculous. And Alabama released their 2 deep yesterday. It's kind of funny, actually. They list the starter as the 1, and then they list 2 or 3 guys as the 2. I mean, there are no 3s or 4s at Alabama. Okay, there's not a 3rd string. There's not a 4th string. They just list, outside of quarterback, where they list Paul Tyson as the 2 and Jalen Milroe as the 3. They'll just list like running back 1, Brian Robinson Jr., running back 2, Chase McClellan, Trey Sanders, Rodell Williams. Whatever, take your pick. The Z is Jamison Williams. And the 2 is Trayshawn Holden / Ja'Cory Brooks. There are no 3s. This team does not have third stringers. Starting corner, Jalen Armour Davis. And the 2 is Kool-Aid McKinstry / Kyrie Jackson. No 2s on this team. Funny. So anyway, shortly after the depth chart was announced, Stephen Smith, not Stephen A., but Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama magazine, posted an article blaring the headline, and I quote, Alabama football has its first all-black offensive line in the Saban era, close quote. Oh, okay. Well, actually, the entire starting 22 are black. All 11 on offense, all 11 on defense. Only the kicker, the punter, and the long snapper are white. But my question is, why is this a thing? I mean, why is this a thing? I mean, if you don't want color to be a thing, why do some in the media constantly make it a thing? Okay. So what? What are you going to do if they start Tommy Brown in some game? What are you going to do when the Brockermeyer twins are starting? Oh, Alabama has 2 white guys in their offensive line. Ooh. Alabama now has 3 white guys in the offensive line. What if, Paul Tyson has to start again? Alabama starts a white quarterback for the first time in, well, I guess last year, Mac Jones. Who knows? Who cares? So Blake Sims, and then Jalen Hurts, and then Tua Tagovailoa is Hawaiian. The Mac Jones. Stop making it a thing if it's not a thing. You don't want it to be a thing. You know what? No white guy wrote that story. I don't get it. I don't understand it. If you don't want it to be a thing, don't make it a thing. Because it's not a thing. Did anybody even think of that? Oh, my gosh. Oh, hey, whoo, ah. That's why I'm not a big fan of the HBCU designation. It's part of our history, but I don't like the stigma with it. I mean, you look all over the HBCUs, there are white guys starting on teams. It's been going on for years. There are white guys on Alabama A&M. Historically black. Okay, fine, it was historically black. There's a lot of things in our history. The only reason we had HBCUs was because of segregation. So why do we want to keep talking about segregation? Just remove that stigma. Why? Don't want it to be about color. Don't make it about color. Stop talking about it all the time.
Do you know who I am?
Who in the blue hell are you?
I'm the producer of this show. If I didn't step up, you're nowhere. I put this thing together out of spit and pollen.
I'm telling you, there's an embarrassing press conference in that kid's future.
You don't ever say that to me. Bullcrap.
There won't be any misinformation. There won't be any false statements. There won't be any hearsay.
How come there ain't no Puerto Ricans on Star Trek?
You ask me those kind of questions, it really pisses me off.
Tom, can you get me off the hook? For old time's sake.
You ask a question every week that I don't know anything about.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho.
You do what everybody else in media does, just create some and throw it on the wall and see what sticks.
I ain't gonna be buried. I want a taxidermist to stuff me.
Say hello to my little friend.
So when the roster came out, when the depth chart came out for Alabama, did you look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, look, they have an all-black offensive line"? I mean, was that like the first thing that came to mind? Hey,
I just saw it as the Alabama Crimson Tide line. Like there was no white or black, yellow, brown.
These guys got to write this story.
Gold, green, gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives a? You know what I mean? I mean, who cares?
Right.
Like who cares? But I know what I do care about. I have the window up here at the Matheny Goldman Trolley Building. At our studios, do have the window open, so the mask ban has been lifted in this area.
Oh,
so
okay.
I told Matheny Goldman it's okay that we could Ticketmaster.
Opened a window.
I opened a window, so we're good.
How big is that hole in that stadium? That hole's way to hell up there.
I mean, that thing's huge. It's a big hole, but I mean,
it's not really a big hole.
It doesn't
when
make
you look
sense.
At it looks like a camera
okay.
opening. You know what I mean? When you open the camera thing.
Here's what doesn't make sense: a closed stadium in Georgia. It's like, come on, I get it. It gets hot.
Oh, it's miserable.
But we want, as Atlanta fans, they want open air stadium. Come on now, you got to have an open air stadium anytime.
Perfect.
I hate it. I hate that stadium. And the thing didn't even work the first year that they created it. Like the first year that it opened up, they couldn't even open it up.
You would think that the baseball team would be more likely to have a closed stadium than the football team, right?
Yeah.
But they've had the football team's had a closed stadium since 1992. But you would think the baseball team, playing all summer long, that they would be more.
See, and that's why I like the Brewers so much, is because they have like this big like fishbowl type, aquarium type thing where they have the roof that can come back and everything like that. So it's like it's really nice that they can open up the roof and it gets like, and when they close it, it gets really nice.
Yeah, Houston has that. Yeah. Seattle has that.
I would have been fine with that in Truist, but I get the scenery and everything. They wanted to do more scenery, more shops outside of the stadium. They wanted the scenery look more than what I think they had at Turner, to be honest with you, even though it was downtown.
I'm an open air guy. What I don't understand is well, first of all, the hole is too small at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
But you can the Halo board, man. It's all about the Halo board. That's all people cared about.
To me, I mean, do you know that the Cowboys Stadium is a retractable roof? Has it ever been open? Have you ever watched the Cowboys game?
I don't think I've ever seen it open, but I have heard that it is supposed to be.
No, it is. I'm telling you, it is. I mean, if I tell you tomorrow's Easter, you hide your eggs today.
No, I know because it rained one time, and I think it rained on top of that huge screen that they have. So I'm trying to remember.
I don't ever remember that stadium being open. I ever remember that. See, the original Cowboys Stadium, the one that had the hole in the roof, that was supposed to be retractable, but they never could figure out how to finish it, and they did the hell with it. They just left it open. But to me, it would just seem to be that, if you're going to have a retractable, I like a fully retractable like Lucas Oil for the Colts, but I would leave it open for every game except for if it were absolutely, totally miserable. I mean, it would have to be like totally terrible weather. And look, in Atlanta, if they couldn't close that thing, they're not having Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And they're not having national championship games. Let's just be honest with you. They're not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, and I can see, I see why they obviously have a closed stadium because, I remember when it was getting built, I was walking right next to, the Georgia Dome, that last season and watching it get built. And it's just a much better venue. I like it. I do like it better than the Georgia Dome, but I get it. They want to be able to have year-round stuff, and that's probably the reason why that they have it closed, and they're just trying to make more money on top of, than what the fan wants.
Well, what's amazing to me is how massive it is. You could fit the Georgia Dome inside it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that big that you could put the Georgia Dome inside it. The Georgia Dome didn't have a ton of room outside of the field, like the concourse area when you walk around.
Very little.
Like they have very small press box at the Georgia Dome too, and but the Georgia Dome. But this thing is like a mall. And oh look, there's a field. You know what I mean? It's like a small city. And much bigger than the Georgia Dome was. And today's Tuesday top 10. I want it to be an interactive top 10, and I want the listeners. I'm going to share some of my most memorable moments in no particular order because I cannot put them in order. My most memorable moments at a college football game, okay? And I want the listeners to share this. I already gotten a couple via the text window, so you can text them in. I'll read them on the air, 732-982-7469, or call me with them. I would love to hear some of your most memorable moments at a college football game, all right? And just something that you'll never forget. That was special. It may be a personal moment. It may be a game you went to with your dad. It may be. Well, on my list, Grizz, I'm going to give one away from my list. I'm just going to give you one little, kind of a little bit of a. 10, 9, 8. No, just one. I'm just going to throw one in there. Not the whole thing right here. Not time. 10, 9. No, stop that. I just want the one, okay?
Yeah.
But one of them was I was at the very first bowl game in the history of the Georgia Dome.
All right.
Okay. The first college football game in the history of the Georgia Dome, the first bowl game, was the 1993 Peach Bowl, okay? And that's memorable for me because it was my first bowl game ever. I was still coaching then. And I was at the AFCA Coaches Convention, and the Peach Bowl was the day before the convention. So me and a bunch of other coaches, we went to the Peach Bowl. That's the game that Natron Means went nuts, and UNC was down 14-0 to Mississippi State at the half and stormed back to win the game 21-17. And we were sitting in mezzanine-level box seats.
Yeah.
And it was the first bowl game ever, the first college game ever. And I backed that up with, and this is no, not that yet. This is kind of interesting. Not a memorable game, but it is something that I have in my quiver. I was at the first college game ever in the Georgia Dome, and I was at the first college game ever in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And that was when Alabama broke DeAndre Francois, the quarterback there, whatever the hell his name is, the quarterback for Florida State, when Alabama played Florida State a couple of years ago on opening day.
Yeah.
DeAndre Francois, right?
Yeah.
They broke him, and that was it. And since Florida State came in at game number 3, and they have been a grease fire ever since then. I mean, they've absolutely been a grease fire ever since then. So I was at the first college football game ever in the Georgia Dome and the first college football game ever in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's kind of a thing, isn't it? A little bit of a thing.
That's pretty legit. I mean, I don't have anything like crazy. I did go to the Alabama Independence Bowl against Iowa State because my cousin was on the team. That was a crazy game because the missed field goal and everything, and just that whole game was just terrible. To be honest with you, it was just a really just boring game. But it was one of my first bowl games ever, so I guess that was a lot of fun for me.
Something that was memorable. Yeah. No, I mean, my list. Did I print my list? Where did my list go? My list. I think my list has some things that everybody will be really fired up about, and it has other things that are only kind of unique to me.
Yeah. I think my best game was the Alabama-Arkansas game with the last-second touchdown in the end zone. I mean, you had all that star talent.
That's at home?
Yeah, that was at that home game in 2007?
Was that the 2000? Yes.
Yes, 2007. That was amazing.
That's on my list.
That was one of – just because I was in the back of the end zone when that play happened. And so I saw that play happen. And so that was
on
probably –
On the field or in
the stands.
In the stands?
Yeah, but that was like the best – you know, and I guess 2 years ago, 2019, for me, the Doink. But I'm an Alabama fan, so I guess it still was a great game. I think it was still a great Iron Bowl. I mean, you can't lie that 2 years ago was not a crazy Iron Bowl.
And I didn't just go with Alabama wins.
Well, I understand that.
You know what I mean? I mean, for me,
I could say Alabama, Tennessee. 2008, 2009 when they beat them 41-17.
That one
at Tuscaloosa. I was in the south end zone.
That has a special meaning to me too. 2007.
Yeah,
that has a very special meaning to me too. You know why that one has special meaning? My son was on the staff, and I was doing pregame, all right, for the Game Day Tailgate Show from the Quad, all right, on a little 13-station network, and my son texted me with a half hour to go in the show. My son texted me and he said, "We have got 5 starters down." He was in the locker room. He texted me from the locker room, and he says, Glenn Coffey's not playing in the game. And, like, 2 offensive linemen. I forget who they all were, but I remember Glenn Coffey. He said, we are down 5. So it's going to be announced right before the game. Don't say anything. I just want you to know. So I had incredible breaking news that I would
had to keep quiet.
I kept quiet on.
That's good.
I was not going to. I was not going to out my son on that. You know what I mean?
Keeping a secret.
I had to, and it was bad journalism. But I'm not a journalist. But it was bad. I knew that that Alabama was missing 5 guys, key players for that game. It was like 2 or 3 offensive linemen, starters, and Glenn Coffey, the starting tailback. And right before the game kicked off, they handed out a sheet that said these guys were suspended for Bookgate, we called it, but the book thing, when they were selling they get the books free on their scholarship, and then they were selling the books at the bookstore and getting money for the free books. You can't sell your free books. I mean, this is before NIL, now.
What if they're doing that now?
None of it doesn't matter now.
It's signed, like it's a signed history book.
They'll be like,
a signed science book, human anatomy.
It's open gangway now. You do whatever the hell you want. Now you get paid for everything. And then they went out and beat the living snot out of them in that game, 41-17. The other thing that was memorable about that game, they beat them 41-17. They moved to 6-2 in Nick Saban's first year, and then don't win another game until that Independence Bowl against Colorado, not the one you were talking about, but the Independence Bowl against Colorado. They lose. They lose to LSU. They lose to Mississippi State. They lose to Louisiana Monroe. God. Yeah. And they lose to Auburn. But that Arkansas game that you were talking about that year, Arkansas came in. They were number 16 in the country. And I was on the field for the last 5 or 8 minutes of that game. And that game has special meaning for me, too, because, again, my son, that was the first game that I saw that my son on the field for. And I was telling everybody in the press box, that's my boy. That's my boy down there. That's my boy Joe right down there. See him down there? He's next to Saban. And that was the game that my son, he was doing stuff. He was a student assistant. Yeah. But then at the beginning of the second half, Nick Saban grabs my son by the elbow, and he sends him into the locker room. I go, oh, look, there's my boy. See him? See Saban's talking to him? He sends him to the locker room. And then my son comes out of the locker room, and he gives something to Saban. And he's like, I'm like, look, man. Look, my kid's there, right there with Saban. He's he obviously has a very, very important role. So after the game, I'm on the field. I give my son a big hug on the field. Very emotional moment. And I asked my son, I said, what was that all about? I was telling everybody in the press box. I said, look at my son interacting with Saban. And he said, well, Coach doesn't know the words to Yay, Alabama. So he sent me, we were winning, and they were winning big in that game, remember? And he says, we were winning big at the half, and Coach left the words to Yay, Alabama in his locker. So he sent me into the locker room to get his little cheat card for the words to Yay, Alabama so that he could sing the fight song afterwards. And then during the game, when Arkansas came back and took the lead, he threw the card at me. And then when we came back, we started coming back. He said, I went and gave it. I said, Coach, I think you're going to need this. And I gave it back to Coach. So that was his interaction with the coach. He had the words to Yay, Alabama. Good God.
Moving up. He was moving up. You knew he was moving up.
Man, that's big time right there, I mean, it's always, I've told that story a million times, and it's just always the funniest. All right, let me get Kramer in here quick. Kramer, what's going on?
Hey, Big Dog.
Hey, man.
I just wanted to get in on I haven't been to a lot of college football games, but I am not sure that my best one can ever be topped. It was the 2018 SEC Championship.
I was there.
With Alabama and Georgia. And free tickets. I was in a suite, had free food, free drinks, and we were there with a lot of Georgia fans. But then when Jalen Hurts brought them back, we were in a suite right off that end zone. It was glorious. I mean, it was the best time ever. So I'm not sure that could ever be topped.
It is
I don't even want to go to another college football game.
It is on my list. Yeah, it's one of the games that is on my list. That same game, the 2018 SEC Championship game. Hurts comes in and saves the day for Tua. That was amazing. And I was working for the other radio station. It was the last thing I did for the other radio station here in town. It was the last thing I did for them. And Steve Moulton, we were both in the press section in the end zone press box area, and Steve Moulton was in the next grandstand over from me. He was in the next set of seats from me where the press area was, where they put us. And I talked to Moulton during halftime, and Moulton was all like, he was beaming, you know what I mean? It was his beloved Georgia Bulldogs were going to beat Alabama for the SEC Championship game. Mm-hmm. But we chatted, how are things going? Things are great, blah, blah, blah. That game, when I got back to the radio station on Monday, or back to my studio on Monday, is when I got the call saying that basically they weren't renewing my contract because I was too expensive. That they couldn't afford to renew it, and that was, I got Cam Newton on that deal, and that's when they put the other guy on the air, and then that didn't last very long either. You know, they blew him out after some period of time. But anyway, that was what's that's like the backstory of that. But that game was one of the most amazing things I've ever been at. The 2018 SEC Championship game is on my list of games. I've given you two of them so far: the 1993 Peach Bowl, which was the first ever college game in the Georgia Dome, and my first ever bowl game that I ever went to, because I was coaching. I didn't go to bowl games. I was coaching in Division III. We didn't go to bowl games. But I got a bunch of other ones on there that I'll get to. I appreciate you, man. Good job by you, Kramer. Thanks for the call.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Let's get a break. When we come back, David Moulton. He's up next. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This Action Update is brought to you by Keeps. Tired of losing your hair? Get 50% off for your first order at Keeps.com/VSiN. Keeps.com/VSiN.
Major League Baseball tonight, the Atlanta Braves on the road taking on the LA Dodgers. Charlie Morton going up against Walker Buehler. Atlanta minus 140 on the run line, LA plus 120. On the money line, Braves plus 161, the Dodgers minus 175 with an over-under of 8. Also tonight, Philadelphia on the road taking on Washington. The Phillies plus 145 on the run line, Nationals minus 165. Money line, Phillies minus 102, Washington minus 108 with an over-under of 9. For VSiN.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Guys, when we were 20, we never had to worry about spontaneity. And now that we've gotten older, spontaneity has been replaced with pills and injections. We're just trying to keep that intimacy, but it's taken away from spontaneity. At Advanced Life Clinic, we now offer GainsWave, which uses sound waves to non-invasively treat this issue with no need for pills or injections. Just give us a call, 256-888-9367, or check us out online, advancedlifeclinic.com.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Never mind fall and football being in the air. We want to taste it.
And never mind not being able to tailgate at the game. Let's create the ultimate barbecue experience in your own backyard.
You said it, Foster Brooks. And that's where Brooks & Collier comes in. Big selection of outdoor furniture.
And a big selection of grills and smokers like Traeger, Big Green Egg, Blaze, even DCS, and more.
This is the good stuff.
And Paul, we definitely got the accessories. And remember, we deliver. Visit us at 813 Meridian Street and shop online at brooksandcollier.com.
Hey, this is Justin with the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. We'd like to invite you to North Alabama's premier patio bar and grill, where at the factory, we have something going on each and every night. Monday night, steak night. Tuesday night, karaoke. Wednesday night, the Jeep community comes out for Jeep Jam. Thursday, it's bike night, the biggest in the valley. Friday and Saturday, live concerts on our 4,000 square foot patio, along with drink specials and a beautiful staff. What are you waiting on? We will see you at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill.
Thom Abraham here for my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Be sure and join us today from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Wait, should we really have a Steve Moulton stinger right before we have David Moulton on? It's kind of weird. No relation. I feel compelled to always say that. I seem to remember there was one time back in the day when David Moulton had to have some sort of interaction with Steve Moulton, and I think it had to do with David's work as the voice of FGCU basketball or something, and he was coming up, and Moulton was working someplace else. I mean, this goes way back in the day, but David joins us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. David, you remember that? You had to contact Steve Moulton in Alabama. I think it had to do with a FGCU basketball game that they were playing on the road at North Alabama, or I don't know, something like that. Am I wrong, or am I wrong?
Well, yeah, and I think there's a state rep in Alabama with the last name Moulton, or maybe somewhere in the South. So I've had to, I've been confused for that person as well. And as I say to everybody, hey, don't diminish those others by comparing them to me.
That's why your Twitter handle is the David Moulton, not just any David Moulton. It's the
and I
David
hate that. And Tom, you know how this works. You know I'm not very creative. And 10 years ago, it was like, hey, we're going to do Twitter. And I'm like, what do I call myself? And so finally somebody set it up for me. And they named my co-host that Mark Miller and then gave me the David Moulton. And I always hated it because it sounded like Ohio State. And I always hated how arrogant the Buckeyes sounded. We're not Ohio State. We're the Ohio State. I'm like, oh, get over yourself.
It always surprised me a little bit that you were the David Moulton because I was like, does David think that there's a whole lot of David Moultons out there? Well, he had to be the David? Like, you're the real David Moulton.
Well, right. Like, people are lining up to be called that, number one. And number two, like, you're not that successful, dude. I mean, you know.
Yes, you are. By the way, we have fans that have become fans of yours, listeners that have become fans of yours over the years, that were watching, Moulton and Miller over the years on your stream and so on. And I think you were part of that Chris Landry's site, as well. Is there any news as to the future of Miller and Moulton? Might you guys be rejoining? Do you got anything you can share yet?
Give us a week. If something's going to happen, it will likely happen before the NFL kicks off. So
there you go.
Just give me a week.
All right. So I can't wait to hear about that. And it'll be the end of your run, here on the Thom Abraham Show. It'll last 2 weeks.
Not at all.
We'll see what time all of that is shaking out. All right. Big news today, and it led to a very interesting trivia question by Mike Greenberg right before I came on the air. Cam Newton won a national championship, played in the Super Bowl, did not win a Super Bowl, and was released. I mean, this is stunning to me. Absolute flat-out released. I thought he played well in the preseason, and obviously they felt, and so did Mac Jones. Mac Jones has won a national championship and now will have an opportunity to become only the third quarterback. Now, put your thinking cap on because you're good with history. He has a chance to become only the third quarterback in the history of college football in the NFL quarterback to win a national championship and a Super Bowl. Not this year, but at some point in time. Can you name the only two quarterbacks in the history of the Super Bowl that were starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl that also won a national championship?
Bart Starr, right?
No, they were. Alabama was awful when Bart Starr was there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But you're on the right track, okay? Just think a few. Yeah, Joe Namath is one. That is they're both really obvious. You kick yourself if you don't immediately say the other one, especially you, because I know a college team that you kind of squeezed for a little bit. But yes, Joe Namath, I think 64 with Alabama.
I'm trying to think.
Come on, think about it.
Montana win a national title?
1975 national title with Notre Dame. Yeah,
no. Well, he didn't play though.
No, yeah, he was the starting quarterback.
Hold on. Was he the starter on the 77 team that beat Texas?
Yes, that's what it was. That's the team.
That's the team then that won the national title.
Yes, 77, not 75. 77. I think 75 was it. 75, the Houston, the Ice Cotton Bowl. 75.
No, that was actually following. That was his last college
78.
Game.
That's 78, yeah.
Yeah, that was it was January 1st, 79, but that was his last college game.
Now, here's where I got tripped up. Ken Stabler. I thought it was Stabler, but Stabler, Alabama won a national championship at 65. Steve Sloan was the quarterback then. So I got tripped up on that one. And then here's two backups that have one. That you win a beer at the bar on this one. You get a frosty one at the bar on this one. Bernie Kosar was the backup to Troy Aikman. He actually played in the Super Bowl. So Bernie Kosar.
Yes. And remember, Bernie had to come off the bench and win the NFC Championship game when Troy got hurt against the Niners. That was the year, and that's where I thought you were going to go, because everybody's going all crazy about Cam getting released. But, Tom, and you've probably already mentioned this because you're a Browns fan, Bill Belichick cut Bernie Kosar when Kosar was the starting quarterback in Cleveland and had won the game on an audible late. But Belichick was fed up with him not running the offense. He decided after the game he was going to bench him, I think, for Testaverde. And then he realized, Bernie is the number 2 in Cleveland is not going to work. So if we're benching him, I'm cutting him.
Yeah.
And he cut him. And this, to me, is the same decision 28 years later. It also shows you how gutsy he was, because he was a third-year struggling head coach when he made that decision on Kozar, and the next year they win double-digit games and go to the playoffs and win a playoff game. Right. But it shows you he's always been this gutsy and this decisive, whether he was successful or not.
Yeah, they went 12-4 with Vinny, and then beat Bill Parcells and the Patriots in the playoff before losing to the Steelers. And it was the right move, but Vinny was never accepted. I mean, Bernie, and to this day, Bernie is the most beloved guy. And I was talking to my sons about this the other night because there was a kid wearing number 19 playing wide receiver for the Browns in that preseason game. And I said, "Oh, look, Bernie Kosar with the catch." And then they were like, how many years and all this kind of stuff. They want to know the history. And I'm like, he was really only the Browns starting quarterback for about 7 years, it was not, he was hurt a lot. He was the oldest 20-year-old I ever seen out there, moved like he was 50.
But he was the starter in 3 AFC championship games, which, for that franchise, that's the golden era since Jim Brown.
He only won double-digit games once. In his entire career, he only led the Browns to double-digit wins, because even the other 2 championship games, they were 9-7, and then got into the championship game. It was in the one year with Don Strock had to come in. He was hurt. I think he went 9-something that year. They were 10-6, but he won 9 of the games, and then Don Strock had to come in.
My buddy, the broadcast partner Gary Danielson on the SEC on CBS, he was Bernie's number 2, 1A for the first 2 AFC championship game years, and Bernie wasn't the starter for all 16 games those years. You handled quarterbacks very differently then.
Yeah, have you ever tried to ask him, Gary, about Bernie Kosar on the air, or even
before?
Yeah,
they're very good friends. He's got a ton of Bernie stories. The one is Bernie was the one. Gary and Bernie together came up with the fake spike play that Marino used in '94 against the Jets, because Bernie was the backup to Marino with those Dolphins teams. But Gary and Bernie came up with it in practice, and Bernie actually tried it in a playoff game and nearly threw an interception. And Marty basically, according to Gary, turned around and was like, "Whose idea was that?"
Yeah.
And Gary was like, "Well, we kind of came up with it in practice." And Marty kind of looked at him like, "I'm going to cut you if you try that again."
That's a funny story. Yeah, I know you didn't want to talk about him when he got in that little riff with Jeff Fisher, and Fisher was at the Rams, and Bernie was slurring a little bit on air, and there were some issues there, and thankfully he's doing great now. Which is really a good thing.
He had a lot of health issues, and fortunately he has seemingly gotten those behind him.
Yeah. By the way, just to finish that thought of the quarterbacks that were backup, the other one is Tom Brady, who was Brian Griese's backup at Michigan in '97
with Michigan
when they won a half a national championship. I always call that a half a national championship.
Well, they had to give Tom Osborne a half a title going out the door. Tom had announced before the bowl game, "Hey, this is going to be it." And so even though they were number 2, and Michigan was number 1, and Michigan won their bowl game, the coaches, I think it was, one of the 2 decided, let's give Tom a parting gift on the way out the door.
It's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. That's a good segue. David Moulton with us here, joining us from Southwest Florida. And you guys, up close and personal, got to watch the Scott Frost era. He went off and won that national championship at UCF. Just ask him. But I wonder about Nebraska after their dismal performance against Illinois to open another season that looks like will be another grinder. You wonder about Nebraska as to whether or not they could ever have a resurgence, or if it's as dead as Princeton winning national championships. Because I personally feel like Tennessee and Texas have a better chance to come back to glory at some point in time than Nebraska. It just keeps getting worse and worse every coach they fire at Nebraska. What's your thought about Scott Frost and Nebraska?
Well, I don't think Texas should be lumped in the same category as Tennessee and Nebraska. I think there's a huge difference because Texas has a fertile recruiting ground, that is never going to change. When Nebraska and Tennessee were in their glory, they were successfully recruiting from outside of their area. And now much of college football has their act together, and they can't go and get those players that they used to get. And we could go into long detail about both franchises. I don't think Nebraska can ever be, quote, Nebraska again. I do think they can be Iowa. I do.
It makes
and
sense. Yeah.
They need to start there.
Well, they were there. They were there with Frank Solich. They were there with Bo Pelini. All the heat that Bo Pelini takes. Go look at Bo Pelini's record. Dude won like 72% of his games. Had him 12-1 one year. I mean, you know, and they keep trying to reach back to Bob Devaney and Tom Osborne, and it ain't happening.
Yes, and let's face it, they still thought they could be Nebraska again, and that 9-3 was not cutting it. And now, obviously, they would kill to be 9-3 consistently again. And so that's the first thing. They need to get in reality. The first thing we need to do is become Iowa. Then let's see if we can challenge Wisconsin. And you know what? In the modern day, that's probably as good as you can do, considering you've got 4 good players within 200 miles.
Yeah, but they'll point to Ohio State, and they'll say, well, why can Ohio State be Ohio State? And
well,
they're...
come on. There's a huge difference. You can field the top 10 team in the state of Ohio. I mean, there's a huge difference. Look at the problem Tennessee now has. You know, Tennessee can't go into the Carolinas because North Carolina and Clemson and to some degree South Carolina has gotten their act together. Tennessee used to thrive in Georgia. You can't go into Atlanta if you're Tennessee and get players. Now, not the way you used to. Tennessee used to go to the north and get kids in Ohio and Michigan. They can't do that. Hell, they can't out-recruit Michigan State.
They're having a hard time.
Ohio anymore.
They're having a hard time recruiting Tennessee. I mean, there have been players like Golden Tate and players like that are from the state of Tennessee that they couldn't keep. Dante Hightower, you know, guys like that, they couldn't keep in the state that were in their state. They went to Alabama or went north. You know, it's crazy.
I mean, Tom, you know, for a long time, Peyton Manning's money kept being put into recruiting, if you know what I mean. They had the biggest recruiting budget in the country for the longest time. Everything was done to enhance facilities so when recruits were brought there. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and it's been a long time since it's been true, but my early days in the SEC and CBS, Tennessee was still Tennessee, and the fall in Knoxville was magical. It really was. I mean, I used to walk around going, I could see why kids say yes. All right, and now, you know, it's a punchline.
Yeah, I did a number of pregame shows from down at the Vol Navy along the river. There was nothing like it. I mean, it was. You go down there, those restaurants, you know, doing a show on the you know, on one of those. It was absolutely incredible. All right, and the other part of that too that's really disturbing is that Arch Manning, right, the stud quarterback, the next great Manning quarterback, allegedly, you know, out of Newman there in Louisiana, he doesn't have Tennessee on his list of 5. I mean, that tells you something. That tells you all you need to know. If Arch Manning doesn't put Tennessee on his list of 5, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? He's got Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas. He doesn't have Tennessee on the list. That's how far it's fallen.
Well, I mean, he's also about 11 years away from college eligibility. So let's. You know,
he's got 2 years. Come on. All right, before I let you go, what in the heck is going on in Miami with this whole thing about, it was imminent over the weekend that Deshaun Watson was traded to the Miami Dolphins. And then yesterday we saw Brian Flores saying, well, we believe in high character guys, which, you know, what was the message there? Tua has looked great in the preseason games. I think he's looked fantastic. I'm still sold on him. I know you're not as much. I'm still sold on him. So what is going on with Deshaun Watson and the Miami Dolphins? Is that happening or not?
Well, first off, I'm all in on Tua. I don't know where you thought that.
Oh, I thought you were one of the guys that didn't like Tua. It was one of my guests doesn't like Tua.
Not at all. No, I was all in on Tua, have been. I just said last year physically he did not look like the guy in college. And I think you could see the difference between this year and last year, just physically how he looks. I mean, he's a guy who needed a year to get healthy and get stronger. But I think that this is all coming from the Texans. I think all this noise is coming from the Texans. I think it's coming from agents. I don't think it's coming from Miami. It makes absolutely no sense. Now, we revisit this in March if Tua struggles and the Dolphins look around and go, listen, with the young quarterbacks in this division, we need an upgrade. That's a different story. But at this point in time, it makes absolutely no sense. Never mind the fact 3 1s and 2 2s for a guy in which you don't even know when the league's going to allow him to play again. Give me a break.
Yeah, good stuff. David Moulton has been. I can't wait next week. Maybe we'll find out what's next for Miller and Moulton. Moulton and Miller. No, it's Miller and Moulton. It sounds. I guess there's more alliteration. Miller and.
We'll do, if we're going to do it, we're going to do a totally different name. We're going to break clean, and if we have a third act.
Yeah, because
that's an idea for
the Miller and Moulton thing. That might be cursed. I'm just saying. You might not want to go Miller and Moulton.
Why?
That name might be cursed. Well, you've had 2 great runs, but they always seem to end. I don't know what's going on with that.
Why? Yeah. Why do you say it's cursed? Just because we've been number 1 in the ratings twice and gotten fired both times?
Who does that? Who does that in that market? Who does? Well, I know who does that because I've had that happen to me. But I mean, who does that?
Maybe we're Frank Solich and Bo Pelini. Maybe we're working for Nebraska.
Yeah, and they got Scott Frost now. All right, I appreciate you. Always good stuff, man. We'll talk next week.
All right, all the best to your listeners. Have a great holiday.
All right, thank you. That's all right. That's right. Do we have I still don't know if we're off on Monday. Do we know if we're off on Monday?
I'm always the last one to know, so I don't know why you ask me.
I got to find out whether we're doing shows on Monday.
And this man has, hundreds of people on his social media, so he does a good job on the Twitch streams, too.
You better have more than 100.
I watched that Miller and Moulton stream a good bit.
You better have more than hundreds. I think he's got.
I'm talking about it's replays and everything too.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back and wrap it up. Hour number 1 next, right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now, and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you, so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Ann Adams. And I understand you have some exciting news.
Yes, Wes, I do. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services was just recognized in the 30th Annual Harris Poll Equitrin as the Real Estate Agency Brand of the Year and the most trusted real estate brand.
That is awesome news, Ann. Great companies in Huntsville, Alabama, winning awards is what we want. Is it a great time to list your home?
Yes, it is. The inventory is low and the market is heating up.
And I understand you're also looking for agents.
I am. We are so busy, Wes, we need agents to keep up with the demand.
Ann Adams and Rise Real Estate has been doing business in North Alabama for the last 35 years. If you want to do business with someone you can trust, she has been writing contracts since she was 9 years old. Call Ann today at 256-337-2625.
Welcome back, Thom Abraham Show. We'll get to our top 10 here in hour number 2, but coming up at the top of the hour, Clint Lamb is going to join us from on3sports.com. We're setting up Alabama and Miami. If you missed it earlier, if you're going to the game, you don't have to wear a mask because they're going to leave the little tiny hole in the roof open.
Yes.
So there you go. The hole in the roof is open. So you're good to go.
I swear, if you have houses, buildings, everything without windows, we're good. COVID gone.
Go back to the old days. No air conditioning, no heat. Just open up the window.
Just sweating.
Be done with it.
Just sweating.
All right, Clint Lamb is next on a Top 10 Tuesday in the Doghouse on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Nothing beats a great burger to celebrate Labor Day weekend. And at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, we couldn't agree more. And if you haven't tried our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness, then head on down and try one of Bad Daddy's award-winning burgers now. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer. Celebrate Labor Day weekend and let us do the cooking with a trip to Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway between Bob Wallace and Governors.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Brooks & Collier has always been about making the most of your outdoors. Our lush greenhouse and new furniture ideas will inspire you, but we're also about value. Our brands are so handsome, they'll make themselves comfortable inside or out, and so well made, they'll weather the weather for many years to come. Our staff can consult you on the right choices, and Lucy for sure can show us the sofa that's the most comfortable. Make the most of your outdoors. Meridian Street and at brooksandcollier.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
And
Christine Lisi, huge breaking NFL news. The decision has been made in New England. The Patriots have released veteran Cam Newton, meaning rookie Mac Jones will be the Patriots' starting quarterback. Stay tuned to ESPN Radio and tune into the 6 Eastern Sports Center on ESPN TV for the latest on this story. Cowboys released QBs Garrett Gilbert and Ben DiNucci. That leaves Cooper Rush as the backup to starter Dak Prescott. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports the Buccaneers working to restructure the contract of star receiver Mike Evans to give the team more salary cap space for another potential championship run. The Bucs currently have about $270,000 in cap space. Baseball, Angels two-way star Shohei Ohtani won't be on the mound tonight against the Yankees as scheduled. Still experiencing soreness in his right wrist after getting hit by a pitch on Saturday. He'll continue to hit but will not pitch again until the soreness goes away.
You need to be more like a dog.
Like what you guys are doing. You've got your fingertip on the pulse of your listeners. You guys know what they're talking about.
Be a dog.
God bless the show. You are the Messiah.
We need more dogs.
This is the best show on radio.
The big dog, Thom Abraham, is here with you.
Hey, I see you, dog.
So settle in and get your bark on.
That's my dog.
Now live, here he is, the big dog.
Let's go, baby!
Thom Abraham.
How you doing? 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 How you doing?
Look, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho.
Do you know who I am?
I mean, that guy sounds like El McPherson farting into Miles Davis' trumpet.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond? Get off my I have to drag my Yankee ass out of here.
Welcome back, hour number 2 on a Top 10 Tuesday in the Doghouse. So glad that you are with us today. This segment of the show is brought to you by our good friends at Woody Anderson Ford. You know what? Woody Anderson Ford, first of all, you don't have to have a Ford to have your service done at Woody Anderson Ford. Secondly, when you go and you visit with their technicians, you get a feeling that your vehicle is at a place where you can feel very, very comfortable. They're going to get it done right. They're going to get it done the first time for you. They're going to get it done in a timely fashion. And all you got to do is look around. Those service lanes are incredible. I mean, they look like your living room. They're just very, very cool. And you got to check it out. Make an appointment for your service to be done at Woody Anderson Ford. All right, joining us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. The guy does a tremendous job covering the Alabama Crimson Tide for On3Sports.com. I imagine he was a little bit interested in the news about Mac Jones as well. He is, of course, Clint Lamb. Clint, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and you're right. I was interested in that news. I mean, you got to think about all the different aspects. The Week 1 matchup against Tua Tagovailoa, the fact that you now have 3 former Alabama quarterbacks now starting Week 1 of the NFL season with Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Mac Jones. And then you also got Mac sharing the backfield there with Damian Harris. So it's a lot of different angles to cover, and you know, it's fun. It's now the first week of the college football season, but we also got some NFL stuff to talk about. So life's good, Tom.
I didn't even make that connection in my mind. I was so focused on, my God, they released Cam Newton that I didn't even think of the fact that it's Mac Jones' first start is against Tua. I mean, oh, my gosh. The storylines behind that is absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. They're both part of that 2017 recruiting class. Both ended up being first-round draft picks. Both are now facing off against each other in, I guess, making their first Week 1 starts of their NFL careers, going against one another. And just looking back at that 2017 recruiting class for Alabama, I want to say there was eight different first-round picks just on the offensive side of the football from that class. You had the 3 receivers. You had Najee Harris at running back. You had the 2 quarterbacks. Then you also had 2 offensive linemen and Alex Leatherwood and Jedrick Wills. So very interesting stuff just looking at that class, looking at the Week 1 matchup. It's provided a lot of Tuesday morning content, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
And then you wonder what happens with Cam Newton. He has made a statement. He said, please don't be sorry for me. I'm all good. Don't feel sorry for me. But now he's a free agent, and you think about, we just heard in the update that Cooper Rush is the number 1 backup to Dak Prescott in Dallas. If I'm Dallas, I'm thinking about taking a look at the guy. I don't know if you can bring him in as a backup. I don't know if it's too big a personality to be as a backup, but if you can, I mean, you got Taylor Heineke backing up Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington. I mean, there are some interesting deals, around the league where he would make a lot of sense. I mean, the Texans, who knows what's going to go on with Deshaun Watson. So you just wonder, where he might end up.
Yeah, I thought about the Texans initially. That was kind of my first thought, and then I started thinking about it. And if the Texans are wanting to go into full-on rebuild mode and they want to ship out Deshaun Watson and collect some more draft picks, the smart thing to do would be for them to get as poor of play as they possibly can get by with at the quarterback position, and that way they can position themselves maybe to get the number 1 overall pick. You just get yourself set up with a future franchise quarterback potentially if Davis Mills ends up not being that guy. And then you've collected a lot of first-round picks elsewhere through trading Deshaun Watson that you're able to build the rest of the roster. But if you're sitting down there at 5 or 6 or 7, you can sometimes put yourself out of the running for one of those premier quarterbacks, and then you'd have to end up trading a lot of those picks that you got for Deshaun to work your way back up to number 1 and try to get that guy. So I don't think that the Texans would be interested in Cam. I could be wrong, but I think Dallas is a great spot. That's one that I didn't think of, but just from a skill set standpoint, there are some similarities between him and Dak Prescott, and because of what happened to Dak last year and the fact that he also got banged up this year, I think it would be pretty smart. Those teams that are able to bring in a quality backup quarterback who can win you football games when your starter goes down. I mean, I know that the Cowboys tried to do it last year with Andy Dalton, and it didn't end up really working out. But a guy like Cam Newton might be a good fit there in Dallas.
And speaking of Dallas, that's where the New Orleans Saints are right now practicing. And they, according to Sean Payton, they expect to be out of New Orleans for a month, which means their opening day game, which is supposed to be at home against the Packers, could actually end up in Dallas with Dallas on the road there, and then they're on the road weeks 2 and 3. So my question is, with Alabama returning home next week, how did Tuscaloosa survive all of this with the storm and the rain and everything else? I mean, should there be? Did they have to get out of there early, head to Atlanta, anything like that? What has been the impact?
Not that I've heard or seen. There's been a lot of rain. They've been practicing indoors, but I don't think it's gotten to a situation or to a point with the situation where they're having to make travel arrangements based around that. So them going to Atlanta this weekend, according to the people that oversee the Chick-fil-A kickoff game, they announced that the stadium is going to be open. They're going to have the stadium roof opened up for fans, and that way you don't have to wear your mask. It's technically an outdoor event at that point. Yeah. So I would guess that means that they're not expecting any sort of bad weather, and then the following week we should be all clear for the first game at home against Mercer in Bryant-Denny Stadium.
I chuckled when I saw that note, from the Peach Bowl people, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to open a little hole in the roof, so now the people don't have to wear their masks. And I mean, come on, are you kidding me? You got 75,000 people in there, shoulder to shoulder, but hey, the little hole in the roof is open, so don't worry about getting sick. I mean, it's just so nuts, But yet in the press box or in the suites, where all the people who are paying tens of thousands of dollars to be there, they're going to wear masks. Oh, sure they are, I mean, it's just nutty.
It really is. And, I mean, part of me was like, I kind of wish they wouldn't open it up. I mean, I understand that it's now given them the pass as far as the way it's perceived to allow people to not have to wear masks in the stands, because you were going to have a very hard time, policing that anyways. But at the same time, I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I haven't really checked. But if it's going to be hot there in Atlanta, which is very possible, and it's been raining and storming, and you could have a lot of humidity, I mean, a lot of people, I've been in there, and I'm sure you have too, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium when it was closed up, and you've got the controlled temperature, and it feels pretty good. So hopefully it doesn't change the weather aspect of it too much. But if it allows people to not have to wear a mask, and because I guarantee you a ton of people that are in the stands would prefer not to wear one, then sure, do whatever you want to. I'm going to be in the press box anyways. It's really not going to affect me, but, we'll see.
Yeah. And I got to imagine they still circulate the air or have the air conditioning out or something, even though that hole is open. It'd be like, hey, there's a window open, all right? Can you turn the air off? There's a window. Close the window. But, that's a whole other deal. Clint Lamb with us here. All right, let's get, the depth chart came out yesterday. And I got to tell you, I actually did a commentary about this last night because it so irritated me. And it wasn't the commentary I wanted to do, and it was the one that I ended up doing. And I know there's a million different sites that, cover Alabama football, but I, for the life of me, could not believe that, Touchdown Alabama site ran a story headlined Alabama football has its first all-black starting offensive line in the Nick Saban era. And you got to be like, are you kidding? It never even crossed my mind. You know what I mean? It's not even a thing. And I don't understand, if we don't want this to be a thing, why do we keep making it a thing? Why do we keep talking about something like that? Who cares? Did it ever occur to you when you looked at it, not only the offensive line, but really all 22 starters are African-American? Oh, wow. Is it supposed to be a thing now or what?
Well, I mean, when I first read that, which I came across it as well, I was confused because they didn't ever specifically say that it was for the opening game of the season, which I would have to assume that that's what they were going for, because if you think back to the national championship game, the last game that Alabama played, Landon Dickerson was out and Chris Owens was in the starting lineup. So you had Alex Leatherwood, you had Evan Neal, you had Emil Ekiyor Jr., you had Chris Owens, and you had Deontay Brown. That was an all-black offensive line. So, I mean, I don't know if they went back and corrected that, but when I was looking at it yesterday, the one part that I found confusing was, well, it's not the first ever all-black offensive line to be in a football game, or a starting offensive line to start a football game for Alabama, because the last game that they were actually on the field for,
right,
that was the case. So I found it kind of confusing, but people look at it differently. I'm one of those that I'm like you. To me, it never would have crossed my mind because that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm more so looking at the X's and O's, but I'll leave that stuff to everybody else.
Yeah, it makes no sense at all. It just doesn't make any sense at all. It's like this text question that I got from you. A listener wants to ask you what year you graduated from Bishop Sycamore High School, and I'm just saying, that you probably did not go to Bishop Sycamore High School, if there is a Bishop Sycamore High School. What a nutty story that was.
Man, credit to them for being able to pull that off, by the way. I mean, I don't think that when they first tried to pull something like that, they actually thought they'd be able to get away with it. But here we are. I mean, all these people are now, a national storyline, and ESPN's been left embarrassed. And I mean, I don't even know, is it just ESPN that got duped by the whole thing, or was it also IMG Academy? Did they think it was a legitimate
Well,
school
no,
and everything
neither.
else,
Neither, because as we had Tom Luganville on, who was on the game, and we had him on yesterday, ESPN does not make these games. They farm that out. There's a company that ESPN, a production company, that sets the games. So ESPN, all they do is air the game. And Luganville was trying to communicate with the company that set the game and tell them, look, I'm not finding any of these guys. I don't know what these people are telling you about this team. I can't find anything on this team and so on. But they're the ones that vetted it, and they were the ones that said, oh, no, it's good. Go ahead with it. And so IMG didn't have anything to do with it. They were a replacement team. The team that was originally in the game like 2 months ago bailed on the game, and this is who they came up with to replace as an opponent for IMG. And but the thing is, ESPN is the one taking the hit, because they're the ones that hire the company, the production company that puts together the games. But really, it's not on ESPN at all.
I'm guessing that's going to be a relationship that's going to be ending fairly soon, if I had to guess. I mean, you make that kind of mistake, and there's just no recovering from it. But, yeah, an absolutely wild storyline that you can get away with that once. No one ever will be able to get away with something like that again.
No.
So credit to them for pulling it off.
And this is the company that has been made the matchups that we've seen on ESPN for years. So they've had a long-standing relationship, and that's why ESPN just kind of rubber-stamped it. Well, if they say it's good, then it's good. I forget the name of the company, but they just kind of, because they've had so much success with them over the years, and so it'll be interesting to see what the ultimate fallout of all of that is. When we look at this roster and this depth chart, is there a surprise on here for you? Is there anything that you looked at and you kind of raised an eyebrow? There are no number 3s, I guess, except for Jalen Milroe. Everybody else is a 1 or a 2. Even if there's 4 guys or 3 guys listed on the 2 line, they're all 2s. But is there something that jumped out at you that said, well, I didn't see that coming?
I wouldn't say that I didn't see it coming necessarily, but I did find it interesting that JoJo Earle was already listed as a co-starter with Slade Bolden there in the slot. We've been hearing great things about him all throughout fall camp, and from what I've been able to see in the limited amount that I've been able to attend practice, He's looked explosive. He's another one of those, smaller, undersized receivers, an electric playmaker with a ball in his hands. And he's been able to carve out a pretty significant role, even from, week one. And what's interesting about that is you think about all the talented receivers that Alabama brought in with those 4 top 100 prospects. You got 1 5-star. Some of those guys, a lot of those guys are top 50 prospects. And the one that did not enroll early of the 4 is the one that's finding himself in the mix pretty much from the jump, which I find interesting because he's only had a couple of months to make this sort of impression on the coaching staff, and he's been able to achieve that. And so to me, that just speaks volumes to the talent level that he brings to the table. I think that we're going to see a lot of him against Miami, and they're going to find creative packages to get him on the field and get the ball in his hands. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. But that was probably the biggest one for me. Kendall Randolph being able to hang on to the starting job at right tackle, I wouldn't say that was super surprising, but I just thought with maybe him having to deal with that ankle injury and opening the door for J.C. Latham and Damian George to get a lot of reps at right tackle, that it was going to be possible for one of those two guys to overtake the starting job. And, Kendall Randolph comes back and he immediately gets inserted back into the starting lineup. So a lot of experience there. I understand they lost some offensive linemen from last year, 3 total. But when you start looking at what they returned technically 4 guys who's got plenty of experience, including 3 who have quite a bit of starting experience. So they're still, working some things out as far as their offensive line. They haven't had this exact unit, the starting 5 together, yet this preseason. There's been various guys banged up throughout the offseason that's kind of prevented them from getting on the field together and kind of working as a unit. So I'll be curious to see how that ends up working out. But those were probably the 2 biggest things that stood out to me.
Clint Lamb with us here talking about Alabama as they get ready for Miami this week. That 5-star receiver you're talking about, speaking of IMG, Ja'Cory Brooks, look, Alabama's had history starting. We've seen these great wide receivers come in as freshmen and start. Seems like he's a little bit buried, on this depth chart. He is in, don't call me a third stringer spot with Treshaun Holden and Ja'Cory Brooks behind Jamison Williams. Do you expect him to be into the rotation, and what have you heard about what kind of a fall he had, why he didn't maybe emerge as the next great freshman starting receiver?
Well, one thing that Nick Saban's always liked to point out when it comes to guys is that they develop, differently. Every guy's different and how he progresses. And with Ja'Cory Brooks, I know that the coaching staff is still extremely high on his talent level. He's got, a tremendous skill set. He's a, fairly big-bodied guy. He's 6'2", 190, can go up and win 50-50 balls. Kind of struggles a little bit sometimes to create separation through his route running. He needs to become more refined with his routes, and I think that's something that could be slowing down his progress as far as getting on the field. If you look at Alabama's route runners the last several years, the last 3 or 4 years, all have been elite route runners, been able to create through, separation through their route running, and you've had accurate quarterbacks who could get them the ball effectively. And with Ja'Cory Brooks, he kind of wins in a little bit of a different way. I've heard good things about him. I still think that he's going to end up being a very good football player down the road. But you've also got, people look at Alabama's lost experience of the last 2 years with 4 first-round picks at that position, and they just assume that the cupboard's completely bare, and it's not. Not only do you have John Mechie, who's got plenty of starting experience, and big, he's kind of your featured guy. Slade Bolden was able to step up in the slot when Jalen Waddle went down last year. He's back. Jamison Williams has started and played a lot of big-time football, including catching a big touchdown pass against Clemson in the college football playoffs last year. So they've got 3 different guys with experience. They've got some guys who have been in the system for longer behind them who have some talent. And then, Ja'Cory Brooks is one of 4 guys, 4 freshman receivers who came in. And just because he was rated the highest, they were all top 75 prospects. So it's not like that these other guys, he was the 5-star and everybody else was, a lowly rated 4-star or a 3-star, and he was just expected to be one of them. Any one of those 4 guys could have been the one to emerge. And so just because he's not playing significant action early in the season, maybe, we'll kind of have to see how things play out this year. And it could be a situation where he needs to take a year and kind of learn and take it from there. But I do know that the coaching staff is still extremely high on him. He just might be progressing a little bit more, a little bit slower than some of the other guys.
They've also, and I know they got some experience in there with the guys that they did put in at the offensive line, but they've also historically not afraid to start a freshman, on the offensive line. The Brockermeyer twins aren't even mentioned anywhere on this depth chart. What's your take on that, and what is the thought process there, do you think?
Well, I think that it just speaks volumes to the depth at Alabama. J.C. Latham was the number one offensive tackle. He's kind of inserted himself into the conversation at right tackle, and he could end up being a starter at some point, even though he's not right now. Jaden Roberts and Terrence Ferguson, two guys on the interior who are true freshmen who are now, already listed on that 2D. I think that speaks more to where Alabama's at as far as their interior and the fact that it's a lot more uncertain than their tackles. Evan Neal's going to be their starting left tackle. Right tackle has a lot of quality candidates. For Tommy Brockermeyer getting on the field, Amari Kite, we forget that he was also, yet again, another top 100 prospect. I think he was rated in the top 80, if I'm not mistaken. It was, I think, the number 10 overall offensive tackle just a couple of years ago. So he's a very talented kid as well. Maybe not as highly talented as maybe a guy like Brockermeyer, but he's been able to do a good job in the spring and hold on to that that backup left tackle job. That doesn't mean that he'll keep it all season, but he's going into his third year in the system, and Tommy Brockermeyer is a first-year player. And then James Brockermeyer, who was, the number one center prospect in the country, but he was, barely in the top 200 prospects. So he's still a talented kid, still think he can get in the mix later on. But both of those two guys, need to continue to add strength and weight to their overall frames. I think that will help them down the road. Tommy, obviously the 5-star one, I think that he can get involved in the competition at some point in 2022, but he might need a year in the system just like his brother to kind of figure out where he stands kind of in the pecking order because, like I said, it's kind of like at wide receiver. They had one of the best a collection of offensive line talent in the history of college football recruiting in this past year's class, and 2 years prior to that, with Amari Kite and Pierce Quick and a lot of those other guys, they had pretty much a very similar class. So they've just continued to load up every other year along the offensive line, and some guys just got to go through the process and wait their turn.
And how far buried into the rotation is James Clemens, LeBron Ray? I mean, we've been tapping our foot waiting for a couple of years. He was all injured a lot last year and so on, and it just seems like, I thought by now he would be, one of these guys that was in the starting rotation. He's listed behind Phil Mathis and Byron Young, at one of the defensive end spots. Do we expect to see much of him?
I certainly wouldn't early on. Not only does he need to get back on the field, he's got to prove that he can stay healthy. He can't become an important part of the rotation just long enough to get hurt again, and now they're left, scrambling, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Now, granted, they've got plenty of depth along their defensive front, don't get me wrong, but just, LeBron has not been able to stay healthy. It's been super unfortunate to watch that happen, but the fact that he's just now returning from yet another injury that he suffered right before preseason practice got underway, and he hadn't really been able to go through preseason practice, I was not surprised at all to see him listed with the second team, and technically he's the third guy listed on that at that particular defensive end position. I think that could change. I think it's more of a placeholder. Like, hey, you get back on the field, you prove that you can stay healthy and you can be an important part of this rotation. I think he'll get back in the mix and could end up even starting at some point this season. But you just the best ability is availability, and so far through his career, as unfortunate as it is, LeBron Ray hasn't been available, consistently enough, especially since he's been asked to kind of step up and become a starter again. Over the last couple of years. He's been a guy that every preseason he's listed on at least, one or two preseason All-SEC team lists. And just he gets listed on that stuff because everybody knows the talent that's there. When he's been able to play early in his career, he's done some good things. But as soon as he started getting asked to become the guy and become a starter, or at least, one of the big wigs as far as the rotation, he just hadn't been able to stay healthy, and it's been unfortunate to see.
It has been unfortunate. He's turned into what we used to call in coaching a jag, just a guy. We would have, you'd have your starters, your studs, and so on, and then you'd have a guy who would have a jag list over here. There were players, but they would be just a guy. And I would think that he's better than being just a guy. All right, finally, a lot of noise coming out of Miami. I mean, I know this is their thing, and they talk all this trash and everything else, but how is this helping them? I mean, and look, the 18-19 point line is surprising to me a little bit. I mean, they got a returning quarterback. They got a lot of experience back on that team. Alabama's got a brand new quarterback. They're breaking in 6 foot, less than 200-pound quarterback. They got a lot of things to work out together. I could see this being a 10 or a 12-point game, and it could still look like an easy win. But man, it seems like all this chatter that's coming out of South Beach is just gonna, I could see the Tide putting a wood to them if they had the opportunity to.
Yeah, and I found the pregame talk a little bit interesting. They want to act like they're not scared of Alabama. Not that they don't want that they are, but they want to establish that they're not scared of Alabama. They're confident in their ability to win this football game going in. That's what you would have to hope for. You don't want them, if you're a Miami fan or you're someone involved in that program, you don't want them going in thinking that they're beat by Alabama before they even step on the field. So I'm not surprised. I just feel like that a lot of the stuff that's happening as far as the trash talking, that doesn't include players necessarily. It also includes the fan base and the confidence that comes from there. You got to think, Derek King tore his ACL like 9 months ago. It was in the bowl game that he tore his ACL. I think Vegas is not entirely – he's looked great in preseason camp. We've heard great things from, Manny Diaz, the head coach there at Miami. He's raved about him all offseason, or excuse me, not all offseason, but all fall camp. We think that he's going to be close to 100%. There's no way he's going to be, completely healed, but enough to be as effective as he would normally be. That's starting to become the expectation. But when that line was set by Vegas, I think it was set with the expectation that there might be some limitations there, and the line might start to change a little bit as we get closer to game time, even though it's already Tuesday and I haven't seen much change at all.
It grew.
But
it grew a little bit. It went from 18.5 to 19.
Yeah, so, I just don't know if people necessarily buy that Derek King's going to be fully healthy for this game. And he has to, not only does he have to be healthy, he has to be playing, bringing his absolute A game if Miami wants a chance to keep this thing close. And personally, I could see the scenario you're talking about where it's an 11, 12, 13-point game, but I could also see a scenario where if Alabama can get to clicking early offensively, but there's a lot of question marks, there's a lot of what-ifs, which is why I wouldn't feel confident betting one way or the other here. But, if things are clicking early for this Alabama offense, I could easily see them covering that line. So, I've had people ask me about that line and which way they should take. And for me, I just say there's too many unknowns. I could see it playing out both ways, and it's all going to be dependent on what Alabama looks like offensively, breaking in all those new starters and, working that particular offensive line together. It'll be interesting to watch. But, there's been a lot of confidence coming from the Miami side.
Yeah, my side is going to be watching the defense. For me, it's going to be – because I feel like the offense, even if it's not clicking 100% right off the bat, it will. I think ultimately the offense will get going. But I want to see that defense. I know Nick Saban says the days of 13 or less points are gone. 17's a nice number. But I would like to see them be different than everybody else in college football. And by that, I mean play great defense. Because defense travels, and then this way, when you have a game when you score 21 or 25, you're still winning those football games. So it's a pretty explosive Miami offense. I would love to see them keep Miami in the teens, and I think that would send shivers down the spines of the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And from what I've heard, as far as in practice and stuff, every time there's been a scrimmage or any sort of big practice, I've texted people, and the one thing that I keep getting is that the offense is having a very hard time when they're going best on best, getting a legitimate look when Will Anderson Jr. is on the field. That they can actually get a believable look or a more realistic look as far as what they're going to be seeing on Saturdays when he's standing on the sidelines because he's caused that much chaos. And so with just that being the starting point, I think that Alabama defense is going to be in good shape because they can build around that. They got complementary pass rush. They got guys on the back end who can create plays, big-time plays. They got linebackers that can run sideline to sideline. So the makeup is absolutely there to have a dominant defense. But, they've had what looked like really good defenses on paper in years past. And they've not been as bad as some Alabama fans have painted them, but they've fallen kind of short of expectations. So the one thing this year is not, it might be difficult to live up to such high expectations, but you would need to at least be in the ballpark as far as where people are expecting them to be.
Always a pleasure. Great stuff. Clint Lamb, check him out on 3sports.com. And, man, I appreciate you so much, and we'll look forward to chatting again.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, Tom.
All right, man. Thank you. Clint Lamb. All right, let's get a break. When we come back, it is time for the Tuesday Top 10. I want to hear your stories. You heard a couple of them from Grizz and I. I want to hear your stories. I've got 8, 9, 10 maybe. I don't even know. I didn't even count them up. Of the greatest in-stadium college football experiences I have ever had in my life. For whatever reason. For various reasons. Okay? I want to hear yours. So this is the interactive Tuesday Top 10. Go ahead and line them up. Bang out those phone calls. Jump on the line with us now. That'll be good. You can use the text window. You could call us at 256-5764-977. You can text us at 732-982-7469. That's 7329-TA-SHOW. I expect full lines when we come back. Oh, I'm putting pressure on you. I'm putting pressure on me. I'm putting pressure on Grizz. But I expect when I come back, 256-576-4977, that there's going to be a few of you on the lines. So let's talk about it. Don't show me up. Back with more right after this on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This action update is brought to you by Keeps. Tired of losing your hair? Get 50% off for your first order at keeps.com/vsin. Keeps.com/vsin.
With the NFL regular season starting September 9th, the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorites to win Super Bowl 56, plus 525 to take home the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Tampa Bay plus 600, they're the defending champs. Buffalo and Green Bay both at plus 1,100, while the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns at 1,400. Kansas City, the favorites to win the AFC at plus 260, Buffalo plus 575, Cleveland plus 750, Baltimore plus 850. The NFC, Tampa Bay, the favorites at plus 325. Green Bay plus 600. Los Angeles and San Francisco both plus 800. For vsin.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, if you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself.
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Two Maids and a Mop. That's all you need to know to clean house. Two Maids and a Mop is an award-winning company, bonded and insured. Hire them for yourself, or they have gift cards if you want to make someone else's day. Find out more online at twomaidshuntsville.com. A maid service worth talking about. Two Maids and a Mop take care of everything. They supply all the cleaning equipment needed. Call 256-883-6243. The only finger you'll need to lift is the one to call them.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortandSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
In today's real estate market, you need the right professionals to help make sure your home purchase is smooth and hassle-free. That's where Jacob Title comes in. Stan McDonald and the staff at Jacob Title cater to the realtor and clients who are looking for a top-flight closing experience. Jacob Title uses the latest and best technologies to ensure a safe and secure exchange of funds, and they pride themselves on great communication well before and during the real estate closing process. Jacob Title in Huntsville and Madison, and online at jacobtitle.com.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. The opportunity for strong or severe thunderstorms is going to drop rapidly once we get beyond the lunch hour. After that, scattered showers stay possible. Temperatures only warm up into the low and mid-70s this afternoon, dropping into the upper 60s and lower 70s as we head into the overnight. Wednesday afternoon is going to be much quieter across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. A mostly cloudy to overcast sky, a couple of scattered showers, but at the end of the day, most of us are going to be dry. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up today at noon. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Your next opportunity to win Bob's tickets to the LSU Alabama game. That's right, Bob Baumhauer. You can win his tickets and a spot in the pregame tent there at the LSU Alabama game, and an opportunity to win a lunch bunch for 6 at Baumhauer's. Your next opportunity to sign up and register to win will come on Thursday night at Baumhauer's. Okay, so Thursday night at Baumhauer's. Swing on by there, go by the table where Wes and Steve will be broadcasting, and you will be able to go ahead and get yourself signed up for that thing. And beginning next week, a week from Thursday, we will pick the first of our 10 winners, and then those 10 winners will be entered into the grand prize drawing. The 10 winners will get the lunch bunch for 6 to Baumhauer's, and then those 10 winners, one of them is going to win a pair of tickets to the LSU Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, complete with an invitation to Bob's exclusive pregame party before the game. So make sure that you're down there at Baumhauer's for that on Thursday. All right, let me get I'm going to get to the phones here. First, I'm going to give you some of my names, but I want to get to Keith, the Michigan fan, because he's in the doctor's office right now. So Keith will be up first. Big John will be up second. Phone lines are open, 256-576-4977. Keith, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing all right, big dog. Right quick. Now, in 2008, I had the family up in Detroit, and we drove over to the Michigan Stadium. And I was telling the security guard that I was down in Alabama, been down there for 30 years, arguing with Alabama fans about football. And he said, well, come on, let me let you in the stadium. So he let me and my son into the stadium and told me I can go down on the field. So I got on the 20-yard line, ran to the end zone, and did the Desmond Howard imitation of winning the Heisman while my son took pictures of me.
Nice.
My wife said I look like a kid in the candy store.
That's fantastic. Anyway, so that's a stadium experience without a game. That's just going and hitting the stadium up. Yeah.
Right. And the field was so soft I still remember how I can see kids diving to catch a ball because when you hit the turf, I mean, it was like a 10-inch carpet.
Was it natural? Was it natural surface then? Because now it's that artificial stuff. So back then, was it natural surface?
It was artificial.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yes, it was so soft. I mean, and it was just nice. It's like, wow, I could, it reminded me when I was a kid playing football. It's like I would love to play on something like that instead of the hard dirt that we played on.
Yeah, that's an interesting stadium experience. I've had that experience at Notre Dame and at Mile High Stadium, believe it or not, of all places, and at Bristol Motor Speedway, all places where I've snuck in to an empty stadium and just kind of had an opportunity to kind of just with nobody there. But that's a different kind of stadium experience. That's pretty cool. I hear it's not the great, unless you're a Michigan fan. I hear it's not the greatest place in the world though to see a game because it's so kind of laid back and open that the noise just goes straight up. It's not like the loudest stadium in the world.
No, it's not. And they used to say it's where they drink champagne and sit back and just enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, I'll let you
All right,
go.
man. Appreciate it. That's an interesting kind of experience. Have you ever done that, Grizz? Have you ever snuck into an empty stadium or racetrack or anything like that? Have you ever done something like that?
No, I haven't, but I did act like I belonged at the NFC Championship game after the Packers and Falcons played and got into the family designated area for the Packers and got to meet a lot of a lot of former players and some players that are still there now. Got to meet Clinton Dix too as well. But nothing like that.
I've got one stadium experience that was during a game or after a game that is interesting that I'm going to show. You guys need to go watch the video of the show. If you don't get to see it live, you need to watch it on the replay because I'm going to show something here after this next final break that is going to be kind of cool. Big John is next. Big John, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing great today, Tom. How are you?
I am fantastic.
1985, I was in the north end zone for the kick.
Wow.
Auburn scores, Alabama charges back down the field, kicks the last-second field goal to win the game. When people always talk about that being an electric atmosphere, it really was.
Yeah,
there was
lightning going
everywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody in the stadium knew we were under a tornado warning.
That is,
but it was something special indeed.
That is crazy, man. 1985 Iron Bowl. Good stuff. All right, Big John. I appreciate that. I saw the text on that one, too. I was going to read it, but I'm glad that you called it in. It's a good job on him.
Tom.
All right, man. Appreciate you. All right, for my list.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's the Tuesday Top 10.
By the way, I feel like I should add something to this. I feel like I should add a little. And this just in, Grizz. For our inaugural Friday trifecta, this Friday, or a regular Friday, we have our future trifecta that's posted. But for our inaugural regular Friday trifecta, which you can win a $25 Champy's gift card for, we have added a pair of tickets to opening day in Tuscaloosa for Alabama.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap is right. Courtesy of Brandon.
Look out.
It'll be brought to you by Brandon. The Friday trifecta brought to you by Champy's Chicken and Brandon. All right? And the Mercer's the opponent. Forget about the opponent. All right? It's opening day for the Tide in Tuscaloosa. And if you have never been, I mean, that would be something to see. Speaking of Brandon, he's up. Brandon, welcome in. How are you?
Man, doing fantastic. I figured I would try to make somebody's day with those tickets. My son's got a game that day, so I figured why not donate them to the cause.
Well, you were going to pull for Mercer, weren't you? Because you live by Mercer. I mean, I figured you were going there to pull for Mercer.
I mean, I would take Mercer plus 50.
Yeah, it might be 50.
I mean, if somebody wants to do that. But most memorable college football game for me, I took my dad to the Chick-fil-A kickoff versus Duke in 2019.
Okay.
And that was a little bit of an experiment because my dad's Alzheimer's is kind of bad. And we're sitting there, Alabama's coming out of tunnel, game's getting ready to kick off. Buddy of mine's with me, he's Facebooking live, and he's just hyena laughing, and I'm like, what? And I look over, and my dad's sitting in the seat, his head's over, mouth wide open, slumped down, and he is knocked completely out. He is dead to the world asleep. Everybody's cheering and hollering. You couldn't help but laugh. All the people walking around, he'd never been to a pro game or never been to a football game before, and he was taking it all in, and he couldn't believe how big the place was. And we were standing up cheering, and I look up, and he's gone. And I'm like, oh, my God, where did he go?
Oh, my.
And he went up to the top of the steps to go get something to drink, and he just decided not to tell anybody. And we take off looking for him at halftime, and we can't find him. And we told security, and they're like, just sit tight, we'll find him. And we're sitting down there a little bit later, and I see him on the other side of the stadium, and he's talking to some people. So we ended up having to chase him down and find him during the game.
Holy mackerel.
It was a heck of a time, and every time one of the beer guys walked by hollering for beer, my dad threw his hand up, and the guy walked over there, and he asked him if he had any decaf, and that was in the fourth quarter, and it was a total wreck of a show, but it was so funny because he was so lost, and it was such a good day, and he always wanted to go, but I know he doesn't really remember it now that he's ever even there, but I had a good time laughing with him while we were there.
That's good stuff, man. I appreciate that story. That's a great story, and thank you for the tickets. And we'll just have to get those from you and get them to our winner. We'll figure out how we're going to do that. But that's tremendous stuff, man. All right, appreciate you. All right, thanks. All right, we're going to get a break in here, and then when we come back, I'm going to give you my memories and a show and tell time as well. So you better watch it on the Twitch, on the Twitter, at 97.7. You can check it out at Twitter and watch it right there. You can watch it as well on the, on the Facebook. You can check it out there as well. We'll come back with that right after this. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed precision overhead garage door service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. And a quick shout out to my son, Avery Seaton, number 19. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including our all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and the sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in the Kia. Go Mustangs!
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Fill up with Eagle Insulation. We'll come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Drinking coffee straight from the pot. Power move. Wearing a bathrobe to work. Power move. Switching to super fast, extra reliable internet from WOW. Power move. Switch and save with WOW Internet for just $19.99 a month. It's switching season, so make a move with our best deal of the year. Get the speed you need starting with Internet 100 for just $19.99 a month. Plus, ask how to get $200 on us. Sign up at wowway.com today.
Wow.
Limited to new customers with autopay and paperless billing. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer here. I hope all of you are well. These are trying times we're experiencing right now, and I want you to know that we at Baumhauer's are committed more than ever to providing a legendary dining experience to everyone. Everyone is important to us, and everyone is welcome. Please allow us to serve you in a way that makes you feel safe, appreciated, welcome, and special. Because we're all special in the eyes of the ones and the one that counts. God bless.
He's bald, he's opinionated, and he's here.
You're morally reprehensible, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Listen to Feinbaum, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
People stay just a little bit longer. We want to play just a little bit longer. The promoter don't mind.
And today's Tuesday Top 10 brought to you by our good friends at North Alabama Mortgage. North Alabama Mortgage, serving Alabama, Florida, Tennessee with conventional VA, FHA, USDA loans. They can do it all, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, cash out refinance, home renovations. We're going to do our kitchen. I'm thinking about refinancing the house, get that rate down a little bit, and whatever it is that you need that money for, you can get it done with the folks at North Alabama Mortgage. Brian Hammaker and his whole team, they just do a tremendous job. Learn more at NorthAlabamaMortgage.com. Go to NorthAlabamaMortgage.com. All right, let me get it in.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's the Tuesday Top 10.
All right, these are my personal most memorable moments at a college football game or in a college football stadium. All right, I mentioned the 1993 Peach Bowl. It was the first one in the Georgia Dome. UNC won that game 21-17 over Mississippi State. It was also like the first college football game in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium over there, too. So that's kind of a unique thing. And I was in the last game in the Georgia Dome as well. And the only thing significant about that was it was the last college game in the Georgia Dome. Alabama cruising to that 24-7 win over Washington. So I was there as well. Rocky stop. Let me tell you something. That 6-3 game in Tuscaloosa, I never felt the stadium shake the way that stadium shook when Alabama, I think it was Roman Harper there, it comes up with the big hit, causes the fumble, goes through the back of the end zone. Tennessee is going in to win. This was back when Tennessee was still winning those games, before they became what they are, and Alabama became what they are now. Rocky stopped 6-3. My heart was pounding. I mean, I never felt anything like that. And thank God for the open press box at Alabama, because that's what makes that so great. 2008 at Tennessee. The Alabama faithful singing Rammer Jammer at Neyland Stadium, 29-9. That was before Alabama would beat them by 40. But a 20-point win in 2008. The worm had just turned towards all of a sudden. Now Alabama wins at Neyland Stadium. And Nick Saban's first trip there as the coach at Alabama. And there's nothing left in the stadium but Alabama fans singing Rammer Jammer. And my sons were all there. I was in the press box. I got out of the press box right before Rammer Jammer. And I went down into the stadium, and I found three of my sons that were there. Maybe all four were there. But they were there singing Rammer Jammer at Neyland Stadium. That was kind of cool. Not for Tennessee fans. The kick six in 2013. I was right in front of Rob Bramlett for that. I was on the air with CBS Sports Radio, coast to coast on national radio at the time it happened. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I mean, kick six was and I remember leaving the stadium and people rushing in the stadium who had been watching the game over at the basketball arena or outside, and I was leaving, and there were more people on the field than there had been at the game that day. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. The pick play in the national championship game when Clemson beat Alabama, I was standing on the sideline, standing next to Tim Tebow and Lee Corso on the sideline, and watched it and just turned around and walked out. It happened right in front of me. It was so clear. It was such an obvious pick, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I walked out. But that was, Jalen Hurts brings back Alabama. It looked like Jalen Hurts won that game with a minute and a half to go. It wasn't Jalen Hurts' fault. He didn't play defense. It looked like he had won that game in that 34-yard scramble or whatever it was. And then the pick play. I mentioned beating Georgia in the 2018 SEC Championship game. Hurts comes in, saves the day for Tua. That was absolutely amazing as well. Georgia beating Alabama in overtime in 2007 in Tuscaloosa. Again, something I was down on the field for, happened right in front of me. They hit that fade pattern in the back corner of the end zone. Georgia wins that game in Nick Saban's inaugural year. And then this game. I'm going to hold it up there. Grizz, you can see, right? You can see that. That is confetti. And if you look closely in the bottom of this bag, you could see some of that black stuff.
Yeah.
That's that tire stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it in my eyes before, in my mouth. Yeah. It's pretty gross.
This stuff, this confetti.
I thought that was like
black stuff.
Yeah.
This came off of my shoes and off of my sport coat at the 2009 SEC Championship game on the field. 32-13, Alabama wins. It's the Tim Tebow crying game.
Yes.
And I was on the field at the end of the game. This stuff was all over my shoes and all over my coat. When I got back to the hotel, I had this crap all over me. And I started grabbing the confetti off of my jacket, and I just stuffed it in my pockets. I didn't know what to do with it.
Keep it and then sell it.
I put it in my pocket, and then the black stuff, the rubbery stuff, was on my shoes. So I put it in the bag, and I've had it on my shelf ever since. I think that's kind of cool.
I thought it was a moldy Christmas tree cake at first.
I actually think that's kind of cool memorabilia.
That's actually pretty cool.
From the SEC, and that was Alabama's.
I still have a slab of old Grissom somewhere in my.
There you go.
So,
beautiful.
Had to keep the memories.
And that was when Alabama, basically returned to glory. All right, Chuck Oliver is up next. For Chad, I'm Tom. This is 97.7 ESPN The Zone.